Now, today, August 11th, is the 50th anniversary of hip hop, and we will celebrate hip hop as a unique African cultural art form. We will celebrate hip hop as a unique African cultural art form. We must celebrate our culture. But just because we celebrate our culture doesn't mean we cannot critique our culture, brothers and sisters. We have to also critique the culture as we celebrate the culture. We have to critique the culture as we celebrate the culture. And today, when I was watching the news, I heard it was alleged today on the news that the hip hop community, and they didn't say who, the hip hop community is trying to reconcile its history of quote unquote homophobia. They said the hip hop community is trying to reconcile its history. Excuse me, the exact words used on television was the hip hop community is trying to reconcile its struggles with homophobia. It struggles with homophobia. It struggles with homophobia. So I'm trying to figure out, who are the leaders of the hip hop community? Because it is a very disorganized community like the rest of Black America. The hip hop community is a very disorganized community like the rest of Black America. But somebody got to help me understand, who's trying to reconcile hip hop with the Rainbow Gang? So are we saying that the next 50 years of hip hop, I'm trying to understand, overstand, and understand this. Are we saying that the next 50 years of hip hop will be focused on embracing anti-Black masculinity? I need somebody from the hip hop community to confirm or disconfirm these allegations. I need someone from the hip hop community to confirm or disconfirm these allegations. I need someone from the hip hop community to confirm or disconfirm the allegations I heard today on network television, where they did a segment. I don't know if it was Good Morning America, Wake Up, I don't know what show it was, but they said the hip hop community going forward is trying to reconcile as we celebrate 50 years of hip hop culture, which is African culture. Let us be clear about that. All the ingredients that went into hip hop are distinct ingredients of African culture. But they said that on the 50th anniversary of hip hop, a Black African art form, the hip hop community is trying to reconcile its historic struggles being homophobic. So are we saying that the next 50 years of hip hop are going to focus on anti-Black masculinity? That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like the next 20 years of hip hop, we're going to see the promotion. We're going to see the promotion of anti-Black masculinity. So y'all better get ready for this. You heard it from me first. Y'all heard it from me first. Y'all heard it. They're saying that rap has never embraced the Rainbow Gang. Nor should we. We have a right to disagree. I'm trying to understand, where did the white power structure? I'm trying to understand, where did the white power structure get the notion that Black people don't have a right to make up their own mind about how they want to live their life? The same people that enslaved me are telling me I have to accept anti-African cultural expressions. The same people that dehumanized, murdered, beheaded, sodomized, castrated my ancestors are telling me that I have to accept European versions of culture and romance. I'm a bad human being if I don't accept anti-African expressions of romance. I'm a bad human being. But nobody's bad for killing black people. Nobody's bad for miseducating black people. Nobody's bad for gentrifying black people. Nobody's bad for the genocide of black people. But we are bad because we don't want to accept your global African depopulation strategies. Because we recognize that this is a global African depopulation strategy. And I see what's going on because hip hop is the most influential musical art form in the world. Because hip hop is the most influential musical art form in the world, y'all want to tenderize the masculinity of hip hop. Because if y'all can tenderize hip hop, if y'all can co-opt hip hop with your population control agenda, then wherever hip hop goes, so goes your agenda. I understand President Joe Biden. I understand Vice President Kamala Harris. I understand Secretary of State. I understand National Security Agency. I understand United Nations. I understand Rockefeller Trilaterals. I understand Rockefeller World Population Council. I understand Rockefeller Foreign Relations. I understand, family. I understand. I understand. So the hip hop community has to make a decision. We can respect everybody. We can respect everybody. But we have to be able to agree to disagree on things that are fundamentally opposed to the success and survival of African life and the African species. Life, culture, and species. What is the ancient Egyptian saying? Ankh, Uja, Seneb. Isn't that life, prosperity, health? Where my Kemites at? I need some clarity from my Kemites. Where my Kemites at? My ancient Kemetic scientists. Ankh, Uja, Seneb. Isn't that life, prosperity, and health, correct? Life, prosperity, and health. So if we're talking about Ankh, Uja, Seneb, from ancient Kemet, if we're talking about Ankh Uja Seneb, what is that? Peace, life, prosperity, life, health, prosperity. But y'all get the point, though. Y'all understand what I'm saying. Y'all understand what I'm saying. So we cannot contradict Ankh Uja Seneb. Absolutely. Absolutely. But give me the translation. I already know the words, my brother. What's the translation? Ankh Uja Seneb. Can I get the translation real quick? Where my Kemites at? Where my Kemites at? Is that life, health, prosperity, eternal life? What's the other two? What's the other two? Where my Kemites at? Come on, Kemites. I need some clarity. I'm calling on my Kemites. Life, prosperity, health. Thank you, Puffy Tigerfish. Thank you, Puffy Tigerfish. Life, prosperity, health. That's what I said earlier, I think. Life, prosperity, health. So if we are about life, prosperity, health, we have to stand on that. Life, prosperity, and health. Positivity and good vibrations. That's what we have to stand on. But this 50 years of hip hop that we celebrate today, the 50 years, you know, we have to take a long, hard look at hip hop culture. And we also have to look at the negativity that has been portrayed in hip hop. You know, the gangster rap takeover of hip hop that began in the late 80s, early 90s, the gangster rap takeover has to be evaluated. Or are we saying that hip hop will forever be dominated by gangster rap? That's the question. Will hip hop forever be dominated by gangster rap? Good morning, bro. How's everything? Happy Friday. All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So yes, with the hip hop, we have to look at the gangster rap, because as far as I'm concerned, if we are not going to sanitize gangster rap out of hip hop, then it might be time to throw hip hop out. I'm gonna say it. If the leading hip hop artists, the elders and the youth, the pioneers and the disciples of hip hop, if we are not going to sanitize gangster rap out of hip hop and turn hip hop back into the progressive, political and positive art form that it was, then we might as well throw the whole thing out. I don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. I don't want to. No. We're not going to play that game. We're not going to play that. Hip hop is different from rap. We are not going to play that game, because to me, that's a coward's game. That's a coward's game. That's for hip hop to say rap is not hip hop. That is a coward's game. You know why that's a coward's game? Because when y'all at the BET Awards, nobody makes that distinction. When y'all at the Grammy Awards, nobody makes that distinction. When y'all at the American Music Awards, nobody makes that distinction. When y'all at the Vibe Awards and the Source Awards, nobody gets up there and says, we need separate awards for hip hop and gangster rap. Nobody ever says that. The only time y'all want to separate gangster rap from hip hop is when you are asked to hold the gangster rappers accountable. Am I wrong, brothers and sisters? Am I wrong, brothers and sisters? Is it not true? Is it not true? Am I wrong? If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. The only time you hear hip hop artists talk about separating gangster rap from hip hop is when it comes time to hold each other accountable. And since a lot of our pioneers are cowards, and a lot of the disciples of hip hop are also don't want to lose their credibility. They don't want to lose their credibility with the streets. They don't want to lose their credibility with the corner boys. They are afraid to hold gangster rap accountable. So don't tell me gangster rap is not hip hop when y'all don't make that distinction no other time. And if we need to debate this, let's get on the Breakfast Club and debate this. Somebody get Charlemagne on the phone. Get DJ Envy on the phone. Let's debate what is and what is not hip hop. And if gangster rap is not hip hop, why don't the hip hop community hold the gangster rappers accountable? Why don't you say they're different from everybody else? I've never heard y'all do that. Let's talk about Jay-Z. Let's talk about Jay-Z. Now, I would say the first half of his career, Jay-Z's content was gangster rap. Am I wrong? The first half of his career, Jay-Z's content was gangster rap, right? Would you separate Jay-Z from hip hop? Would you separate Sean Carter from hip hop? For the first half of his career, most of Jay-Z's content was negative and self-destructive. Would you separate Sean Carter from hip hop? No, you would not. No, you would not. You would not separate Sean Carter from hip hop. Would you separate Wu-Tang from hip hop? Would you separate Wu-Tang from hip hop? Even though I think Wu-Tang had a lot more conscious content than a lot of the other artists. Of course, y'all wouldn't separate it from hip hop. So if you're not going to separate Wu-Tang from hip hop, you're not going to separate Jay-Z from hip hop, who's another? Would you separate Kool G Rap from hip hop? No, you would not. You would not separate Kool G Rap from hip hop. Exactly. Exactly. Because some of the greatest lyricists were gangster rappers. So since you're not going to separate gangster rap from hip hop, that means gangster rap is a part of hip hop. And those who have a problem with it and recognize gangster rap is not productive for the community, y'all need to go ahead and hold a convention in honor of the 50 years of hip hop. And it's time to sanitize hip hop. It's time to sanitize gangster rap out of hip hop. Who's some more gangster rappers who are some of the top artists of all time? Who are some more gangster rappers who are the top artists of all time? Who are some more gangster rappers? Give me some more. Common Sense, he's not a gangster rapper. Common Sense is positive. Lil Nas X, I don't know what he's into. Satanism, demonism, I don't know what that guy into. But give me some more top rap artists. Would you separate NWA from hip hop? Would you separate NWA from hip hop? Would you separate Lil Wayne from hip hop? Would you separate Snoop Dogg from hip hop? Peace, good brother. Would you separate them from hip hop? No, you would. Would you separate the Notorious B.I.G. from hip hop? Would you separate? No, you would not. So if you're not going to separate the gangster rappers from hip hop, that means gangster rap is a part of hip hop, and hip hop has a responsibility to sanitize the gangster rap element out of the culture. You have to sanitize the gangster rap element out of the culture. You have to sanitize the gangster rap element out of the culture. And if y'all don't want to do that, I don't want to hear no more peace in the streets from the hip hop community. I don't want to hear no more peace in the streets from the hip hop community. Drill rap is a part of gangster rap. Don't try to make the drill rappers worse than the gangster rappers. They are all responsible for promoting and celebrating black genocide. Can we be honest? Can we be honest? Can we be honest? Or are we going to be cowards? Let me tell you what this conversation sounds like. Let me tell you what this conversation sounds like. Let me tell you, know what this conversation sounds like? This is the conversation you have with the Christians or the Muslims. Much respect to my Muslims and Christians, no disrespect. Much respect to my Muslims and Christians, no disrespect. Much respect to my Muslims and Christians. But this is the same conversation when you talk about churches that exploit the black community financially. This is the same cowardly tactic you get from the Christian community when you talk about churches that exploit the black community. What do the Christians say? Instead of holding those churches accountable, you know what they say? That's not Jesus. That's not Christianity. This is what they do because they're too afraid to hold other churches accountable. They say, that's not Jesus. That's not real Christianity. That's not true Christianity. But you don't say that no other time. You don't say that no other time. You don't say that no other time. When I'm talking to my Muslim brothers and I say, what about the Muslim brothers who do bad things in the black community? What about the Muslim brothers who do bad things in the black community? You know what they say? That's not Islam. That's not what the Prophet Muhammad taught. But to me, that's a coward. Only a coward would do that. Because if you're not a coward, you don't have a problem holding the gangster rappers accountable. You don't have a problem telling the gangster rappers, we don't want no more profanity. We don't want no more misogyny. We don't want no more violence. We don't want no more negativity in the hip hop community. That's what a real man would do. But because a lot of the hip hoppers are cowards, they scared of the gangster rappers, they're not going to hold them accountable. They're not going to hold them accountable. They're not going to hold them. That's the real conversation we need to have. We celebrating 50 years of hip hop? Or are we going to have a real conversation about hip hop? Are we going to have a real conversation about hip hop? Or are we just supposed to celebrate this as if it's the greatest thing that ever happened to the black community, even though the hip hop community hasn't built a single relevant institution for the people? 50 years, can somebody show me a single relevant institution? 50 years of hip hop, right? Can somebody show me a single relevant institution that the hip hop community has built for black America? I'll wait for an answer. Have they built a school? Have they built a supermarket? Have they built a factory? Have they built a bank? What I said, relevant institution. I don't have a problem with the hip hop museum. I don't have a problem with the hip hop museum, but I will say this. As an advocate of black children, I have to say this. No disrespect to the Zulu Nation. I'll be seeing my good brother Cassius D in Atlanta. No disrespect to the Zulu Nation. I'll be seeing my good brother Cassius D from the Zulu Nation in Atlanta on the 19th. But Afrika Bambaataa, until we have had a community tribunal on the allegations against Afrika Bambaataa, until there has been a community tribunal on the allegations against Afrika Bambaataa, he cannot be the curator of the Hip Hop Museum. This is Dr. Umar's official position. I don't know if he's innocent. I don't know if he's guilty. But until there has been a thorough investigation and community tribunal on the allegations made against Afrika Bambaataa so he can defend his name, or so he can be convicted by the community. I'm not talking about court. I'm talking about community justice. We need a tribunal on the charges and allegations made against Africa Bambaataa. And until Africa Bambaataa has stand trial, until he has stood trial for the allegations made against him, he cannot be the curator of the Hip Hop Museum. That is my official position. I don't care who don't like it. If we're going to talk about peace, justice, and prosperity, let's talk about peace, justice, and prosperity. What up, Kev? So, listen, y'all, I'm not beating up on the hip hop community, and I respect the pioneers and fathers of hip hop. Okay, DJ Kool Herc is a friend of mine. DJ Kool Herc is a friend of mine. All I'm saying is I don't want us to go into the next 50 years of hip hop with the same garbage that plagues the hip hop community right now. Okay? If your 15-year-old child can't listen to a hip hop song, we have a problem. If your 15-year-old child can't listen to a hip hop song, we have a problem. If your 15-year-old daughter can't listen to a hip hop song, we have a problem. If I can't play that music inside of the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, we have a problem. So that's number one. That's number one. That's number one. Okay? Hip hop didn't create the violence. Hip hop didn't create the gangs, but hip hop glamorizes it and popularizes it. Can we be honest? Or are we going to keep living in denial? Or are we going to keep living in denial? And when are we going to have the tribunal for Africa Bambaataa? There needs to be a 50th year tribunal for allegations made against Africa Bambaataa. You have to do that. You have to do it. He cannot be the progenitor of that museum if he's guilty. And I'm not saying that he is. I don't know. I'm not saying that he is. I don't know. But I do want to say this to Hassan Poppy Campbell, who's had my name in his mouth the last couple weeks. I do want to say this to Hassan Poppy Campbell. Let me say this to you. And I don't respond to you often because you're not someone I think I need to dignify with a response. But I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. And I'm not going to be disrespectful because I believe that you are a traumatized brother. And I hope you get the therapy and the treatment that you so desperately need. So I'm not going to disrespect my brother Hassan Poppy Campbell. But I do want to say this in all honesty to you, Hassan. This is in all honesty to Hassan Poppy Campbell. When you first came out and alleged to be a victim of Africa Bambaataa, when you first came out and alleged to be a victim of Africa Bambaataa, you came out very strong, you came out very positive, and you appeared to care about victims of sexual abuse. That's what I got from Hassan Poppy Campbell when I first heard him. When that whole story broke that Africa Bambaataa was engaging in unhealthy behavior with young men, and Hassan Poppy Campbell came out and alleged that he was one of those victims along with B. Stinger and others, I thought Hassan was going to be the face of a movement that was going to look to hold sex offenders accountable for their abuse of children. This is what I thought. I said, that brother right there, he sounds strong, he sounds positive, and I think he's going to organize all the I thought he was going to organize all the sexual assault victims in New York, get them together, and start a program to protect children and other people from being preyed upon by grown men and women. This is what I thought Hassan Poppy Campbell's movement was all about. This is what I thought. But I'm going to be honest with you, Hassan Poppy Campbell. And if you want to have a conversation with me, brother, we can have a conversation. To me, being a psychologist, I'm just being honest. To me, looking from the outside in, to me, it looks like you used your alleged victimhood to build a career as a social media YouTuber. That's what it looks like to me. I'm just being honest. I'm not disrespecting Hassan. I'm not throwing him under the bus. But to me, what appeared to be a movement to protect children from sex abuse. I'm talking to Hassan Campbell right now. I'm talking to Hassan Campbell right now. What appeared to me to be a movement to protect children from sex abuse became a opportunistic venture for one man to build a social media YouTube career off of his pain and the pain of other children. And I'm going to say this to you, Hassan, because you got time to fix this. I'm going to say this to you, Hassan Poppy Campbell, because you have time to fix this. It ain't too late. From man to man, if Hassan Campbell does not go back to his original crusade when he popped on social media talking about child sex abuse, if Hassan Campbell doesn't start a foundation, an organization, a task force, a movement, if Hassan Poppy Campbell doesn't do something productive, progressive, and positive to address child sex abuse in the black community, I'm going to have to label you a hypocrite. I'm just going to keep it honest, my brother. I'm just going to keep it honest, Hassan. Because what it looks like to me, brother, you are one of the top YouTubers. You are one of the top YouTubers, my brother. You're one of the top YouTubers. And to me, I think the money and the attention of YouTube threw you off your path. I think the money and the attention of YouTube threw Hassan Campbell off his task. So I'm going to challenge my brother Hassan Campbell, and I'm being respectful. Okay, I hope he responds in a respectful way, because I know he often gets triggered and go on his emotional trauma tangents. I know he can get triggered and go on his emotional trauma tangents. But I want Hassan Campbell in his next live, after he's done cursing me out, I want him to address why he has not, in all these years of being on YouTube, and I think he's been on YouTube a good 5-6 years. Why hasn't Hassan Campbell done anything to address child sex abuse? That's all I want to know from Hassan. Now, let me get back to this 50 years of hip hop, and I think I'm done with this topic. Let me get back to this 50 years of hip hop, and I think I'm done with this topic. But I would love to be the facilitator of the Africa Bambaataa Community Tribunal on sex assault allegations. I would love to be the facilitator as a neutral party. As a neutral party, I would love to be a facilitator. I would love to be a part of the conversation about the Hip Hop Museum. Okay. Okay. And I would love to be a part of the conversation what we're going to do to sanitize hip hop of gangster rap in the next 50 years. So let me jump off of that. Let me jump off of that. I want to go to Africa real quick. Let's talk about the brewing war in the Sahel in Africa. As you all know, there was a coup in Burkina Faso. There was a coup in Mali. And there was a coup in Niger. ECOWAS gave the leader of Niger a certain amount of time to restore the democratically elected president to office in Niger. ECOWAS said that if the president of Niger does not stand down and put the democratically elected president back into office, they are sending a military force into Niger. They are going to send a military force into Niger. This is what I think. I think ECOWAS is a puppet of the French government, and I think the French government has ECOWAS going into Niger to start this war so they can protect the uranium deposits. That's what I think this is about. I think this is a bad move by the West African community. We do not need any more war in Africa at this time. We don't need any more wars in Africa. So I hope that the president of Nigeria, the president of Ghana, the president of Gambia, the president of Liberia, the president of Cote d'Ivoire, the president of Cameroon, the president of Togo, and the president of Benin, I hope they reconsider their threat. I hope they reconsider their threat. We cannot have African nations going to war with each other. We cannot have African nations going to war with each other over minerals that outsiders want to exploit. We cannot do that. We cannot do that, because the only people who are going to suffer if there is a war in West Africa will be our elders, our women, and our children. We cannot accept that. So I'm hoping the presidents of African nations reconsider sending military forces into Niger. That will not benefit Africa at all. Our people need peace. Africa needs peace. I am against any war in Africa. I am against any war in Africa right now. You cannot be going to war to protect the uranium deposits for the French government. That is not our problem. They can get uranium from other places. There are 6 countries in the world who produce more uranium than Niger. There are 6 other countries in the world who produce more uranium than Niger. So if they need uranium for nuclear weapons, they can get it elsewhere. But we cannot be going to war for uranium. We cannot do that. Africa needs peace right now. And I want the African Union to speak up, because I don't hear the African Union saying anything at all. The African Union needs to repudiate any threat of war. The African Union needs to repudiate and condemn any threat of war at all on African soil. We need peace. We need organization. We need development. We do not need war. We do not need war. In 10 days, we will be in Nat Turner land. If today is August the 11th, that means we got 10 days until we celebrate the greatest revolutionary to walk on American soil. I hope all of you will join me in Nat Turner land at the Nat Turner Library located in Druryville, Virginia. Make sure you go to natturnerlibrary.com. Make sure you go to natturnerlibrary.com. Make sure you go to natturnerlibrary.com. I want to see everybody on August the 21st in Nat Turner land. I want to see everybody on August the 21st in Nat Turner land. I want to see everybody on August the 21st, Nat Turner land. I want to see everybody on August the 20th in Petersburg, Virginia. I want to see everybody on August the 20th, Petersburg, Virginia. I want to see everybody on August the 20th, Petersburg, Virginia, brothers and sisters. We getting work done. We getting work done. We trying to cross the finish line, brothers and sisters. Okay, we got 2 schools to renovate. We got 2 schools to renovate. We got the Honorable Marcus Garvey Elementary School, and we got the Honorable Frederick Douglass High School. Speaking of Frederick Douglass, where my Rochester, New York Africans at? Speaking of Frederick Douglass, where my Buffalo, New York Africans at? Speaking of Frederick Douglass, where my Syracuse, New York Africans at? I want my upstate New York Africans to know that I'm coming back to Rochester, New York, Friday, August the 18th. We're going to celebrate Frederick Douglass right between celebrating Marcus Garvey. I said we're going to celebrate Frederick Douglass right between the days that we celebrate Marcus Garvey. We got Marcus Garvey's Earth Day on his Earth Day, Thursday in Harlem at the Alhambra Ballroom. Thursday, August the 17th, Harlem, New York, the Alhambra Ballroom, 7 p.m. That's Garvey Day number 1. Then we got Atlanta, Georgia, Garvey Day number 2 on Saturday, August the 19th, Atlanta, Georgia, Shrine of the Black Madonna, Saturday, August the 19th. So we're going to put Douglass, it's only right, FDMG all day, baby. It's FDMG everywhere. It's a FDMG universe. So we're going to celebrate Garvey Day in Harlem, and then I'm going to fly up to Rochester real quick Friday morning. I'm going to fly up to Rochester, New York real quick Friday morning. So for my Rochester, New York Africans, my Syracuse, New York Africans, my Buffalo, New York Africans, my Niagara Falls Africans, join me at Frederick Douglass's gravesite. Join me at Frederick Douglass's gravesite from 11 until 12. I will be pouring libation to my ancestor. I will be pouring libation to my 4 times great-grand cousin, Frederick Douglass. That's right. He's a first-generation grandson of Isaac and Betsy Bailey, and I'm about an 8th-generation grandson of Isaac and Betsy Bailey. Frederick Douglass is the first generation grandson of Isaac and Betsy Bailey, and Ifa Tunde Ogun of Isaac and Betsy Bailey. So for my Rochester, New York Africans, we're going to pour a Black August libation. We are pouring a Black August libation to the greatest black leader in American history, the Honorable Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey. We're going to pour libation to Frederick Douglass and his wife, Anna Murray Douglass, and his daughter, Annie Douglass. All three of them are buried on the same plot. I said Frederick Douglass is buried right next to his first wife and youngest daughter, Annie Douglass, at the Mount Hope Cemetery in Rochester, 11 o'clock next Friday. The Mount Hope Cemetery in Rochester, New York, 11 a.m. next Friday. The Mount Hope Cemetery in Rochester, New York, next Friday, 11 to 12. Rochester, New York, pull up. Rochester, New York, pull up. And then there's going to be a special meet and greet at the East High School. A grave site. Libation at Frederick Douglass grave site. Friday, August the 18th from 11 to 12. Special meet and greet Q&A with Dr. Umar for my Rochester, New York Africans at the East High School from 12 until 1. And then there's a graduation ceremony that I will keynote. And then there is a graduation ceremony that I will keynote. And then there is a graduation ceremony that I will keynote. And then there is a graduation ceremony I will keynote at the East High School from 1 until 3. And then I got to hop back on the plane, get back to New York, get to the airport, and fly to Atlanta, Georgia for Saturday. So we celebrating Garvey on Thursday, August the 17th. We celebrating Frederick Douglass on Friday, August the 18th. And we celebrating Garvey again in Atlanta, Black Atlanta, on Saturday, August the 19th. Then we celebrating Gabriel Prosser. It's nothing but ancestors next week. We are celebrating the unapologetically African alpha male next week. Can you dig it? Can you dig it, my African brethren? Can you dig it, my African brethren? We're celebrating unapologetically African alpha male ancestors next week. I said we are celebrating unapologetically African alpha male ancestors next week. We are celebrating the great divine masculine. We always talking about the great divine feminine. We're always talking about the great divine feminine. We're always talking about the great divine feminine, and that's all right. But we're going to celebrate the great divine masculine next week. Next week has been declared by the Prince of Pan-Africanism. Next week is the week we celebrate the great divine masculine. The great divine masculine. Leo season, Black August, you know how we do. Leo season, Black August, you know how we do. So we celebrating Garvey on the 17th, Douglass on the 18th, Garvey on the 19th. We celebrating Gabriel Prosser on the 20th. Petersburg, Virginia, that's the Gabriel Prosser lecture. Petersburg, Virginia, that's the Gabriel Prosser lecture. And then on the 21st, you know where it's at. That's my solar return, baby. You know how we do on my solar return. You know what we celebrate on August the 21st. We celebrate Nat Turner. We celebrate Jean-Jacques Dessalines. We celebrate Toussaint L'Ouverture. We celebrate Bookman Dada. We celebrate Christophe. We celebrate Makandar. We celebrate George and Jonathan Jackson. We remember Emmett Till because Emmett Till showed up in Money, Mississippi on August the 21st. I said Emmett Till showed up in Money, Mississippi on August the 21st. I said Emmett Till showed up in Money, Mississippi on August the 21st. The Haitian Revolution, August the 21st. Birth of Jesus Christ, August the 21st. Nat Turner War, August the 21st. Stop playing with me, brothers and sisters. It's Leo season. Where are my Leos at? Where are my Leos and lionesses? Where are my Leos and lionesses? We in the building. Make sure y'all send my solar return gifts. Make sure y'all send my solar return gifts. Ladies, let's keep the gifts clean. 2 years ago, somebody sent me some underwear. They was clean. They were clean, but no underwear this year, ladies. No underwear for my birthday this year, ladies. Keep the gifts clean. P.O. Box 6872. P.O. Box 6872. P.O. Box 6872, Philadelphia 19132. Or you can bring the gift to Atlanta. You can bring the gift to Rochester, New York. You can bring the gift to Harlem, New York. You can bring the gift to Petersburg, Virginia. You can bring the gift to Nat Turner Land. And then after Nat Turner Land, it's time for St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands. Nat Turner Land, after that, we going to St. Croix. Where my Caribbean Africans at? Where my Caribbean Africans at? Where my Caribbean Africans at? I want to see all my Caribbean Africans in St. Croix on Saturday, August the 26th. I said I want to see all my Caribbean Africans in St. Croix on August the 26th at the Agricultural Fairgrounds. So that's my message for today. If anybody from the hip hop community want to have that conversation, I'm all ears. We might need to go in the Breakfast Club and have that conversation, but we cannot. Another 50 years of gangster rap. I don't care who don't like it. Gangster rap does not benefit our children. Gangster rap does not benefit our community. Gangster rap does not benefit our women. And gangster rap doesn't even benefit the hip hop community if we want to be honest about it. So that's Dr. Umar's message for today. And I bid everybody a farewell. Peace and Pan-Africanism.